What's up, guys and girls? Today I'm going to be telling you guys how to build up a blog into a large following where you will have hundreds of thousands of followers and fans who watch and read your articles on a daily basis. Now, why should you listen to me? Because I've done this. And this may come as a surprise to my current subscribers, but I have, and I've vaguely mentioned it in the past. Just a quick summation. At its peak, which was around the middle of high school, which was a while ago, my blog had over 20 million total views, and on any moment of any day it had roughly 200 to sometimes 500 viewers on at all times, and it fluctuated depending on if it was a weekend or a weekday. In addition to this, it was generating from 100,000 to 200,000 views per week on a weekly basis, and it was growing exponentially. And this was at its peak right before I shut it down. And so that's roughly how it goes, and I'll leave a link telling the whole story somewhere. I've actually already uploaded a summation of the whole story, and I say summation in quotes because it's literally like 2 videos long for a total of 40 minutes, and I would say that in itself is simply a sort of nutshell story of the whole thing. It's not the full elaborated story of everything that went on, but if I remember, I will leave that in the video somewhere so you can click on it. Anyhow, how to get this following. First off, you need to choose a topic that you really love, that you don't think it's work when you're writing articles or writing blog posts. Because if you do, or even if there's like a slight inkling of doubt that it's work or you don't really like it, doubt can manifest and take over you over time, and it's not going to be fun. And then it's going to be like a chore doing it, and that really will in the long run affect on the quality of your posts, and it will really just hurt you to the point where even if you gain that following, it's not fun anymore. A lot of people choose to do this for the wrong reasons. They want this huge following either for the fame, because it's fun, and that's all fine and dandy, but if you're just doing it for that, you will ultimately realize once you get that following, if you ever get it, that hey, it's really not that worth it. Who cares if so many people are viewing? It's just a chore. I don't like it. In fact, it's tedious and I don't want to do it. So you really have to have a good foundation, and that's the first thing. From there, you need a second thing, which is quality posts. Quality blog posts are what differentiates different people. Now, quality in itself spans a wide variety of scientific criteria to categorize your post as quality. I think ultimately though, you want to have something that appeals to a fan base. So whatever you're aiming towards, you have to hit your target spot on, and everything about it has to embody the highest quality that you can achieve. So for instance, there's a difference in image resolution for your images, and there's also a grammar issue, and typically you want the highest amount of grammar possible, unless you're one of those blogs that are comedic and play off bad grammar. In that case, you want to have bad grammar to achieve the highest quality possible. And you can see this sort of stuff. And I guess the biggest difference is if you compare, just choose out any sort of topic out there. let's say you want to have a gaming blog, or you want to have a blog on science, or you want to have a blog on something controversial like religion. Take that topic and just do a search and find a couple blogs on that specific topic. And once you model it after these sort of blogs, you will see that literally some blogs are unpopular for a reason. They may be talking about the same thing, their blog posts may be on the same exact topic, and it's great if you can find something like this because there's a definite difference in quality of the post, and you'll see definite things that will indicate why people prefer this post to this post. For instance, grammar, quality of pictures, how everything is aligned and formatted, special things like humor or special snippets or special news stories or special bits of details where the author just goes the extra mile and gets it out. That's another huge one, going the extra mile. And I can go on and on about quality. There's so many different things that will differentiate one post from another. You will inherently know the more and more you try and the more and more you compare. Back to my personal story, and I think it can be applied to any sort of topic. But personally, back in the day when I was just a young kid, and I started this whole thing out because I loved what I did. I wasn't really trying, well, I was trying really hard to gain that large viewership, but I wasn't doing it because I hated the topic and I wanted money or anything like that. And some blog authors do this and they shoot themselves in the foot because they hate their topic and they're simply doing it for the money, which generates bad quality. But anyhow, back to my example, my blog was about this video game, this online video game currently owned by Disney called Club Penguin. Most people have heard of it. And I played this game as a middle schooler, which is why I started. And because of how my blog was set up subject-wise, it was literally a walkthrough blog. It told you like where everything was. There's these things called pins. The game was literally a game where you had a controllable penguin which you can customize with clothing and walk around and chat and so forth. And so there's these things called pins which you could collect every week, and they hid it somewhere strange, somewhere hard to find in this world map. And on top of that, there was mini games and missions and walkthroughs. And my blog had the highest quality posts on walkthroughs on all this. How to find the pin, how to find this certain item, how to defeat this mini game. All these things, I tried to make everything perfect. So because of my genre, most of the blogs in my space, and there were thousands out there, were doing literally the same thing. And I would compare, and every little thing I could find, like oftentimes there'd be huge disparities, and I'd see it immediately and I'd be like, okay, this guy's images are crappy. I've used this sort of photo imagery to make my images quality. He has bad grammar, I don't. I've listed out the steps 1, 2, 3, 4. He's just sloppily put them all in one line. I've gone the extra mile and elaborated on details. He hasn't. And sometimes it would just be like literally like I would go to a competitor blog, for instance, and I would see either them doing a few things better or everything the same but one thing better, and I would be like, I would note that and change it immediately in mine, and from then on out use that format. And I would literally be like many avenues in my life, I would always strive to be I call it the rolling selective ball of green slime. Now what does this mean? Basically, I'm this sort of selective slime that rolls over everything, and it's very sticky, so it absorbs everything but only selectively. So anything I absorb is something I've selected that I know will benefit me. And anything I've rejected, I keep out because it's not going to benefit me. So I go through life like this. Everything I can find that will better me or help my blog, I would take and use if I legally can. And anything I can't, I don't take it and use it. I know how it's bad, and I avoid it. So you get the idea. And so that is another thing you should look out for. If you're doing a blog on gaming or web design or computer programming or something else, it can be harder to find a blog that does the exact same thing. But that's another thing that I have to add. The next thing is you want to add your personal flavor to it. That's one thing I did on top of making all my posts quality and better than everyone else's. If you're in a space where you won't have articles that are even somewhat similar to another person's, so you can compare, first off, there's always a degree you can compare, whether it's grammar, formatting, alignment, layout, and so forth. But on top of that, let's say you're doing a sports blog, and you can't really just copy what this person writes an article on. For my space, the Club Penguin walkthroughs, I could. For your space, if someone writes an article on this player, you can't really do that unless it's some big event that he's gone through. And oftentimes in those situations where you do write about the same thing, it is always better to add your personal spin. So even with my blogs, I did add my personal spin on top of that. In addition to all the generic stuff, there would either be a paragraph before or after where I added my personal opinions on topic, and I spoke in a very enthusiastic way. It was very individualized to myself, and I always ended my post with this thing, chillax, and then my name. Chillax was literally like one of those slang words I used back in the day when I was young, and yeah, that's what I did. And so you can see how these sort of things can definitely benefit your blog and help you dramatically. And why is it important to add your personal spin and individualism? Because first off, following the crowd and being generic won't set you apart, and therefore the reader has no reason to choose you beyond that person outside of quality posts. Adding your personal spin, although it will set some people off, it will definitely draw viewership because you are unique. You have your own personal spin, you have your own personal personality. It draws people in, it's entertaining, blah 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 blah. It pulls certain niche people in, and you'd rather want fanaticism than nothing at all. And typically, for my blogs at least, people wanted information and they got it. And on top of that, there was that added flavor of my personality there. Whether they wanted it or didn't care, it didn't matter, because ultimately they got the information they wanted in the fastest time possible, in the best quality which leads to my next thing, timeliness of your posts. So you either want to set like a weekly schedule, you want to let them know what's going on, and one of the biggest things for me was time. So literally, I remember literally I would sit up at night until sometimes 3 a.m. Because the Club Penguin servers worked on a PST time zone, and literally what they had to do was they would release the updates, and sometimes they'd be an hour or two late. And I would wait until then, immediately find where the hidden items were, make a blog post on the topic immediately, because there were different countries viewing my blog, and if I went to sleep and woke up at 8 a.m. and did my post, or maybe went to school and then came back at 6 p.m., that's almost half a day to a full 24 hours after the patch was released in the game, where the information wasn't out on my blog and it was out on competitors. So all the nations who were awake at the time, France, Belgium, England, whatever, those people who Googled would not find the information because I had yet to upload it, and my competitors would be able to draw further new retention when I couldn't because I didn't upload it. And so, you know, it's definitely a niche thing for MySpace. For other things I still think is very important, let's say you're a gamer, patch updates, again, very important for any game that requires patch updates, which is literally any online multiplayer game. But outside of gaming, let's say any sort of topic like a news story, a news article, you want to be the first person to write an article on it, or you have to be at least in the fresh zone. The earlier the better. You don't want to, you know, let's say you're doing an article on a war that just broke out, or terrorism, or let's say you're doing an article on religion or science, maybe a new scientific discovery or some controversial act, or you're doing a celebrity blog and a celebrity was caught doing something strange and it's breaking news. You know it will draw a lot of attention. Don't you think it's better to do an article and release it publicly immediately rather than a week after the event has taken place or 24 hours after the event took place? And you'll see this in a lot of things, especially newscast scenarios. Anything related to news or breaking events, you'll always see the top people are on top of it. They will release their stuff immediately. A great example are the YouTube videos that do parodies of music videos. There's this one big channel called Barely Political, and they have the show called Key of Awesome. They have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they do parody music videos. They release their music videos literally the day that the original music video was released. Like, they literally almost create an idea, create the production, the scenery, buy all the materials and costumes necessary, act it out, film it, put it all together on the day of or maybe like 2 days after the original music video was released. That's how quick they are. And so obviously, you know, because they got there early, they don't miss all those people who click on the original music video once, then see the related links for the related music video and click that, and then they hit your parody music video. If they released it 3 or 4 days later, they would have missed all that traffic that watched the original music video before the parody was released. That's the power of related videos on YouTube. It's that little column on the right of your YouTube video that shows all the related videos. And so you get the idea. And so whether you're using Tumblr or WordPress or Blogspot or Blogger, whatever blogging software you use, the final big tip I will give you is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And by this, I mean that it's not something that happened overnight. It shouldn't.